a few things that's going on that I think to best position um, conservative Republicans to win, the things we need to think about and talk about. And we are hearing, and you hear this a lot on Fox News, and you hear it a lot from Republican politicians that the red wave is coming. The red wave is coming. Um, and there's no question that the political environment today, right now, um, favors Republicans. No question about it. However, I am concerned that all this talk about red wave, that um, we're going to get overconfident and not do the things we need to do to win elections. And so let me talk about what I mean is yes, the environment favors Republicans. It favors Republicans because, as we all know, the economy's awful, inflation is awful, um, the southern border is awful, where we stand in the eye of the world is awful. Uh, for many reasons, not the least of which is what happened in Afghanistan. Uh, you know, Safety and security situation in our cities is terrible. So this environment is good for Republicans, but we have to work and we have to show up. We can't simply, uh, rely on the overall political environment to win. And let me tell you why I say that. And I'm going to pull up because I like to read. I read a lot. I pay attention to a lot of things, and so I hope these series of Facebook lives like this one, and I'm going to do this every week, is more informative. I don't want this to be me coming on and just blurting out Republican talking points. I want to hopefully provide some useful information to everybody. So when we talk about the red wave coming, yes, the political environment is good for Republicans, but let me just point out a few things to you. If you look at um, the latest polls by various polling organizations. I mean, I think you've all heard on the news how, what is it, 75 or 80% of the people believe the country is heading in the wrong direction. I agree. It is heading in the wrong direction. Uh, eh, but and that Biden's job approval is very low, as it should be. But there's a poll that's taken along with those polls, direction of the company and Biden approval uh, um, rating is the generic congressional vote. All right, so the question is, for your senator or congressman, would you vote Democratic or Republican? And those polls are very close, and there's some that actually have Democrats ahead, and some have Republicans ahead, and you can't just say, oh well, that's a meaningless poll because, for example, um, a you know the latest poll from the Economist, which is a magazine, Economist YouGov, has the country. 74% say the country's on the wrong track. Well, in that same poll, and the generic congressional ballot, it has Democrats up +3. So and then there's numerous of those polls. Another one has Republicans up +1. Another one has Democrats up +4. Uh, Let me find another one. There's one with Republicans up +8. That was from Friday, July 8th. And so listen, I mean, polls aren't the end of all end, which is why I look at several of them. But the important point is, even though the environment is good for Republicans, when you're talking about U.S. Senate seats and congressional seats, the red wave, is not an absolute. And so we have to show up, we have to work, we have to support our candidates, we have to pick good candidates in the primaries. And so all that stuff still has to happen. And I think this also gives us an indication of what's going to happen in the state elections as well. So, um, and there's no polling on the state elections. So at any rate, it is a situation where we have to show up and we have to work. And of course, we're going to be talking about the bad economy and what happened in Afghanistan and the southern border being a mess and the drug problem and safety and security and inflation and the price of gas and energy independence. Of course, we're going to talk about all those things. Um, and keep in mind, the economy may improve between now and election day, and the Democrats have issues to talk about as well. They're going to talk about the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade. They're making, and they will continue to make, um, abortion a huge issue. Um, the other thing they're going to talk about is, January 6th and the hearings, and and I don't, I've paid pretty close attention to that, and I actually started reading a lot about that. After the election, when all this stuff was going on, I've read some of the judges' decisions in those cases. The point is, and the you know the hearings, which are biased. There's no question they're biased, but there's testimony coming out of that, and there's evidence coming out of that really looks bad, for Republicans and for um, former President Trump. So so they will use that against Republicans. Make no mistake about it. Hey, Mark, how you doing? You know, you can call me sometime, Mark. This is this guy who stalks me, and call me sometime, Mark. I'm glad to talk to you anytime instead of being a ghost and doing stuff on my Facebook page. At any rate, so we will be attacked, for what happened on January 6th, and I caution all Republicans to not simply brush January 6th off as something that is being overblown. It because there is some very damning, testimony and evidence about about what happened in the weeks leading up to January 6th and the involvement of some Republicans and President Trump and some members of the House and Rudy Giuliani and others. So we need to be prepared to defend that. So so ultimately, we should win these elections. We Republicans should win these elections. We have to pick good candidates in the primary. Um, I mean, I think we have 11 running in the U.S. Senate primary and 12 in the first congressional district, and I think only 3 in the second congressional district. And our late primary makes it extremely difficult. There's such a short time period between September 13th, which is the day of the primary, and the general election. So I urge everybody, whoever wins the primary, whoever wins it, that you get out and you help those candidates, because the winner will need your help for sure. Um, so, and we have to come together to win these elections. We can't find ourselves in a situation where, if your preferred primary candidate does not win, that you don't support the winner and you don't get out and volunteer for the winner. Because if we do that, we will lose. We will lose for sure. Um, Actually, I'm very optimistic, and the important thing about this is, what do we have to do to fulfill that optimism? That's the important thing. And we cannot. I just have a comment here that you're not optimistic. I'm very optimistic, but we've got to show up and we got to work to win. We just can't simply, um, think the political environment is gonna bring us over the finish line. So, and we have to work at it. Uh, so, what I'm going to do on these Facebook lives is, each week I'm gonna do a pretty deep dive into issues, and I just wanted to give you a general sensing of what's happening, with attitudes, and don't get overconfident on this red wave stuff, because it is. We still have to do the work, and we have to support our candidates. And so I will be, doing a deep dive into issues and talk about the war in Ukraine, talk about the economy, the debt, the impact on the debt, what's going to happen with the Fed raising interest rates to try to get inflation under control, and we might be in a recession now, and what all that means. And if you have any suggestions, or you want to talk to me, email me, corkymessner@gmail.com. I'll respond. I'll call you back. Send me your number. I'll call you. And if you have any suggestions about things you would like me to talk about, please let me know. Please let me know. And those those who are real interested in coming on here and harassing me, that's okay too. Uh, and yeah, the in this comment, there's been lies. I'm gonna hit this. I hope it doesn't mess it up. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, the Linda, this comment about, you're not, Jerry said you only have heard one side, and hearsay there's been lies told on Trump for 6 years. Linda, in the hearing, you're correct. There's only been one side in the hearing, but I will tell you, I've read uh, so much more than what's been said in the hearings. And that's my point. And my point is, um, that we can't have these knee jerk reactions that none of this stuff is true. It is. I don't think it's going to help us win. In fact, I think it might lead to us losing. So, and that's why I'm talking about it. It. I'm hoping to share the information, from my reading and studying these things, to everybody, so um, so that we can be prepared to win this election. So, Carlton Cooper, I really didn't interfere with the New Hampshire Senate race. I don't know what you mean by that. And so, at any rate, Carlton, send me an email, corkymessner@gmail.com, and with your number, and I'll call you, Carlton, and we can talk about this. Yeah, I love seeing these comments. So if you have comments, please put them up there. I'm glad to deal with anything, and and that's why I think, if we simply take an approach on January 6th that it's all one-sided, it's all hearsay, uh, it's all lies, we're missing the boat there. We are totally missing the boat there. No, I do feel our government is infiltrated, Kim. There's no question that we have these bureaucracies um, that that do a lot of things that are infiltrated, that cause things to be um, not good for Republicans, not good for the country. Uh, as far as what sources, I mean, I have you read any of the opinions from judges on the cases? Who's this? Eric White. Um, I mean, I've read opinions on the judges from the judges on some of the cases that were filed with respect to the election. Now, you can go ahead and say all judges are corrupt, and if you go down that rabbit hole that everything, everybody that is involved in criticizing what happened on January 6th is corrupt and and against Republicans and against Trump. Um, that's a rabbit hole. There's just far too much evidence indicating otherwise, and so yeah, and I would urge you. I mean, there's testimony. Um, the January 6th cases, Eric. There's testimony from people like Bill Stepien, who was President Trump's campaign manager, that about all this, that they believed, him and others in the campaign, that President Trump lost. And listen, it's uh, at some point, you know, you assess what people are saying, you make a judgment on their credibility, and what I've done is that exact thing. I've assessed what people said, how they said it, and made a judgment on their credibility. And I urge you to do that. I mean, it's because it's just too easy. Um, uh, it's just too easy to simply write all this off as as everybody's corrupt, because not everybody is corrupt. Some people are corrupt, but not everybody. Aiden, how are you? I am not opposing libertarian leaning candidates due to concerns about polling. I don't know where you heard that. So that's just not true, Aiden. I am not opposing libertarian candidates due to concerns about polling. No, I'm not doing that. That's just not true. I Hey Joe McCoy, how are you? Uh, yeah, Kim Summerling. This idea of Biden releasing oil from the strategic oil reserve, and it's made its way to China, is awful. It's terrible. In fact, I think releasing oil from the strategic reserve, it was a dumb move. It was a purely political move, and and really puts the country at risk. And an awful decision, awful decision. Um, so, well, Aiden, I'll talk to Jen and find out why she said that. But you know, in fact, as far as polling goes, there's really not been much polling with respect to the Senate race or the congressional races. Not much polling that I'm aware of. Uh, so, but I don't. I actually uh, consider myself a bit of a libertarian myself, so I don't know why I would oppose them. You know, I want to win elections. That's what I'm about, and and sometimes you gotta, uh, you gotta support. All right, Aiden, we'll talk privately. Um, Kim, the idea that release of the oils from the strategic reserve are grounds for impeachment. I agree. I think they are. I and I think there's plenty of other things that Biden has done that that are grounds for impeachment. Especially the stuff with respect to Hunter Biden and the way that that's been covered up. Um, in fact, to the extent the election wasn't fair, I would say it wasn't fair because the Hunter Biden stuff was covered up, and the mainstream media didn't cover it, and the social media companies suppressed it, and that had an had that been public, yeah, I think Trump would have won easily. Um, so yes, yeah, the southern border situation, Eric, is just awful. I mean, it's a terrible situation, and I'll just tell you that the I'll just tell you that Biden and the Democrats like to talk about their border policy as being humane and compassionate. It is not humane and compassionate. It is not humane and compassionate at all. Um, in fact, it is exactly the opposite. And as we hear just the horrific stories of what's happening to people, it it's just awful, and and it is an invasion. There's no question it is an invasion, and I think that's part of the whole globalist view that borders don't matter, and I of course disagree with that. So and that's it. They don't want a border, Eric. So the comments are great. I mean, and I'll try to address all of them the best I can. And but I want to go back to the. Uh, that's right. Trump did a great job on the border, Kim. There's no question about it. He did a great job on the border, and it is very sad that that Biden just knee jerked and changed everything because it is a tragic human disaster what's happening on the border now. So, this Tim Ford, this comment about the executive branch was to enforce the laws. Yeah, that's right. And what we're seeing um, is the executive branch picking and choosing what laws to enforce, and um, we have to hold government accountable on this. That's why this election is so important, and 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 in order to change what's going on in this country, we have to take the long view here. It's about winning every election, and it's going to take time, and you got to stay engaged, and you got to support candidates, and you have to volunteer for candidates. Um, this is, this election is going to be a difficult election, and we, we have to do the work. Uh, and that's why when you hear this red wave stuff, don't assume that it's just going to happen. We have to make it happen, and we have to pick good candidates. We have to. No, Tim Ford, I am not running again. I have a PAC, the New Hampshire Advantage PAC, and go to the website newhampshireadvantage.org and learn about it. And we're helping people win elections. So, but we have to take the long view, and every election counts, every race counts, uh, every person you talk to counts, um, and and everyone's got to be involved uh, to win these elections. Well, listen, uh, if you have any other questions, if someone wants a type of question in there, I'm glad to answer it. I kind of like this format because I can respond to things and you know and I'll even address the tough stuff. There were some tough comments on here, but that's okay, And if you want to email me and whoever that one guy is who stalks me, send me an email. Let's talk. Uh, all right. Well, listen. Sorry about the technical issues at the beginning. Hi, Julian. How are you doing, man? Thanks for joining. Um, but I think next week we're going to do this every Wednesday at 7, and we'll have a topic next week that we'll do a deep dive on, and and uh, and if there's any topics that you would like me to talk about, send me an email, corkymessner@gmail.com. Uh, please put your PAC on your website. The PAC has a website. Beth, if you can, Beth or Jen, if you could, put the website of the PAC on a note on here, that would be great. Um, so, at any rate, if you have any topics you would like me to do a deep dive in, I will. I think next week I'm going to talk about the economy, inflation, uh, and what's going on with that. It it and just to set that up a little bit, um, you know, I I graduated from high school in 1974 and lived through. And I saw some people on here who actually, at least one person that's a West Point classmate of mine, and there it is, nhadvantage.org. Thank you. Um, and we lived through that time of very high inflation uh, and very high interest rates. Uh, in the late 70s and early 80s, hell, the interest rate was at times as high as 18% and inflation at 10%. And so I sure hope we don't go back to that. Uh, you know, right now I don't have any confidence in the Fed, and so and our fiscal policy under Biden just adds to the inflationary pressures. And it's funny. A year or two ago, around the 2020 election, the Democrats were talking about this new theory they had, this modern monetary theory, which basically said, you can print as much money as you want, and the debt and deficits don't matter. And well, as we're seeing as we're seeing that's just not the case. And I hope we can get this under control. And I'll talk about it next week in more detail. Uh, Tim, you walked back from the drop zone at Bragg. Was that back in the day? And so I sure hope we don't find ourselves in those situations again. All right, everybody. Well, listen, thanks for joining on the first call. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties up front, and hope you join next week and invite some other friends. Thank you so much. We'll see you. Bye bye.